50 out of 50, dead last. No matter how you say it, Missouri is falling behind the rest of the nation when it comes to getting those COVID-19 vaccines into people's arms. Who the state is blaming when it comes to statewide distribution.
The game is entirely logistics.
While the state works on its distribution strategy, mass vaccination sites are beginning to pop up in mid-Missouri, where and how you can sign up for your vaccine.
Will all senators now rise and raise their right hand?
Less than a week into Biden's presidency, the article of impeachment has been filed, and now senators have been sworn into Trump's second impeachment trial. We have the latest from Capitol Hill and the impending trial. This is KOMU8 News at 5.
Coverage you can count on. KOMU8 News starts now.
Today, we're hearing from health experts as Missouri still ranks last nationally in vaccine distribution. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jordan Bircher. Thanks so much for joining us today. Now, we first told you who Governor Parson and the state blames for the distribution struggles, the Federal Pharmacy Partnership. Today, we heard from Walgreens, who's pointing the finger somewhere else. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services released a statement explaining the state's ranking. KOMU8's Caroline Reevy is in the newsroom now to tell us more about the response to it all. Caroline?
Jordan, DHSS is pointing a finger at the Federal Pharmacy Partnership that is distributing vaccines to long-term care facilities. They believe Walgreens and CVS, the contracted pharmacies, are not reporting the number of vaccines that are being administered, and that is skewing the data. The Missouri Hospital Association says this is not just Missouri's problem. One WashU professor believes the low ranking is more of a leadership and logistics issue. The MHA points out max vaccinations are a complex puzzle. It's coordinating the number of available doses and finding the people to get those doses. And that WashU professor says while it's easy to blame the federal government, our state's issues go beyond that.
Practically speaking, this presumably entails a failure to organize and operations and logistics.
The game is entirely logistics. It is a matter of receiving vaccine and being able to deliver that fairly quickly into patients' arms.
This afternoon, we also talked with a Walgreens representative who says these long-term care facilities are overestimating the number of vaccines residents want to receive. We also talked to someone from a long-term care facility where they were administering vaccines today. You'll hear what that employee says at 6. In the newsroom, Caroline Reevy, KOMU8 News.
All right, Caroline, thanks so much. Well, we have much more on our COVID-19 coverage in just a moment, but we're also tracking some winter weather that could impact your morning commute. Let's get the latest now from Matt. How are things looking out there?
Yeah, right now things are fine. We are seeing a few flurries falling from the sky, but it's just those cloudy, cold day flurries. They don't add up to anything. You just notice them fall from the sky. That's what we're seeing right now. Our snow is out to the west across west central Kansas. That's going to head our way through the overnight hours tonight and into early tomorrow morning. Cloudy skies with us right now. Let's go ahead and put Precipcast into motion here. After about midnight, we're going to be watching to the west because that's when the snow is going to begin. It's going to be very light, 2 a.m. in the morning, starting to see this in our western counties over towards Marshall, Sedalia. But look at 7 a.m. as many of you are going to be heading out the door. We're looking at widespread light to even moderate snow showers across a good chunk of the region. Now, we're not looking at a lot of snow, only a dusting to an inch for most of us, but I do think this is going to be at a time that we could see some issues tomorrow morning. So our storm mode index is at a 2 on a 0 to 5 scale. That means there could be issues. You're going to want to allow a little extra time for your morning commute. I've got the latest timing, totals, impacts. That's all coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Matt. Well, starting Friday, the Mexico airport will be one of 3 mass vaccination sites in the region. In a news release, Audrain County Public Health says there will be 2,500 vaccines available for those in Phase 1B. Now, this includes people who are 65 and older, as well as those at high risk. Missouri National Guard will be giving vaccines from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Keep in mind, though, this is a first-come, first-served basis. Audrain County Public Health says those wanting to get the vaccine should get to the airport early. ACHD says the Missouri National Guard is providing those vaccines. Any vaccines sent to them is separate and will not be used for this event. MU Healthcare is closing its drive-through testing an hour early every day. It says there's been a decrease in the number of people getting tested. The updated hours are Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 and Saturday from 8 to 11. Taking a look at COVID-19 numbers here in the state reported more than 1,000 new cases today, along with over 100 newly reported deaths. Here in mid-Missouri, Boone County reported 34 new cases. There are now more than 500 active in the county. That's a drop of 67 cases, though, from yesterday. One new death was reported in the county. There have been 68 total deaths so far since the pandemic began. Boone County received another shipment of vaccines today. The health department posted these photos saying staff are working to make sure that no vaccines go to waste. All the doses in a vial have to be used within 4 hours of opening. The Post also said it will take longer to vaccinate everyone in current phases in Boone than in surrounding counties that have smaller populations. CPS teachers and staff got several thousand masks delivered this morning, and wait until you hear how easy it was to get those masks to teachers. KMUA's Mackenzie Christian is live outside Rockbridge to show us what was so special about this delivery. Mackenzie?
The masks teachers got are even nicer than this cloth mask I have. They got N95 masks, and that's all thanks to one CPS mother. Jennifer Roberts says the idea came to her at 10 a.m. and by 2 p.m. they had over 2,500 masks for the district. The masks will be distributed to teachers and staff, and Roberts says several teachers have heard the news and they were ecstatic. She says the masks were not being used and she thought teachers needed them.
I reached out to the COVID-19 Regional Relief Fund head, John Baker, to ask him, about funding for some masks for the teachers. I didn't realize that we had masks just sitting around, which we did. And he absolutely thought they would be better on the faces of our teachers, than sitting in their boxes.
CPS spokesperson Michelle Baumstark says as time moves forward, what they really will need are smaller masks for younger children. Roberts says she's on it. Live in Columbia, Mackenzie Christian, KMU8 News.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Well, organizations that work to help the community with food and resources are hoping for another stimulus. Feeding Missouri Director Scott Baker says food banks have had to spend over 200% more money last month to keep up with the demand. Baker says that there's fear that as the pandemic hopefully subsides in 2021, that these organizations could be left behind financially.
We're very, very concerned that, that our leaders in Washington, in Jefferson City, they will move on thinking that we're out of the woods. But those of us dealing with the economic repercussions aren't even close yet.
Central Pantry fed an estimated 60 families within just the first hour of opening today. Well, moving nationally, President Biden is addressing the issue of racial equity and signing more executive orders aimed at leveling the playing field for all Americans. That happens as senators take an oath to officially begin the impeachment trial of former President Trump. NBC's Alice Barr has details from Washington.
Good afternoon, folks.
President Biden today outlining his plans to advance racial equality, also signing executive actions targeting fair housing, voting rights, health care, education, economic mobility, and criminal justice.
Our soul will be troubled as long as systemic racism is allowed to persist.
The president formally disavowing racism and xenophobia, including hatred directed at Asian Americans in the wake of COVID-19. And with the pandemic hitting communities of color harder, he's vowing to put racial equity at the center of his recovery plans.
It has to be the business of the whole of government.
The head of the NAACP reacting to President Biden's early efforts to deliver on a key campaign promise.
The fact that he's embedding this inside of the Domestic Policy Council shows the urgency and the gravity of what's taking place.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, the Senate confirming Antony Blinken as Secretary of State, Janet Yellen sworn in as the country's first female Treasury Secretary, before all 100 senators were themselves sworn in for the upcoming impeachment trial of former President Trump. Senator Rand Paul leading Republican objections to holding a trial after the president has already left office and questioning whether it's constitutional.
Impeachment is for removal from office, and the accused here has already left office.
The history and precedent is clear. The Senate has the power to try former officials.
Democrats insist the former president's actions cannot go unchallenged. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And the impeachment trial is set to begin in just 2 weeks, giving both sides time to prepare their arguments. Well, we're days away from Columbia's trash pickup changes. Who to contact if you're still in need of those city logoed bags? But first, a live look over downtown Columbia. The time is 5:09. This is KOMU 8 News.